good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically, me featuring me. No special guest, just me. And I have just gotten my eyes set on the probable cause affidavit for Bryan Kohberger. I just started reading it and I decided that I was going to record as I'm reading it. So in reading the first page, it goes into on November 13th, 2022 at approximately 4 p.m. Moscow Police Department Sergeant Bleeker and I responded to 1122 King Road. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor on the north side of the building, which would be the front door. I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned through Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Xana Kernodle's. Just before this room was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body later identified as Kernodle's lying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin. Chapin was also deceased with wounds later determined to be caused by sharp force injuries. I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Gonsalves' room. I later learned from review of Officer Nunes' body camera, there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. So the dog was in Kaylee's bedroom. The dog belonged to Gonsalves and her ex-boyfriend, Jack Decour. I found out from my interview with Jack Decour on November 13th that he and Gonsalves shared the dog. Officer Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. As I entered the bedroom, I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Gonsalves and Mogan were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side when viewed from the door. The sheath was later processed and had K-Bar, USMC, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA, the suspect profile, left on the buttoned snap of the knife sheath. Now, there have been channels that have already suspected this, and good on them, because there were rumors that the knife sheath was left behind. Though it was said to have been left in Xana's room, it was obviously left behind, and that is where they were able to get the DNA. I mean, like I said, the guy made a lot of mistakes. You use a knife and you leave the sheath? Based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as review of evidence, I've learned the following. On the evening of November 12th, 2022, Chapin and Kernodle are seen by BF at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. BF also estimated that at approximately 1:45 a.m., Chapin and Kernodle returned to the King Road residence. BF also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Kernodle. Gonsalves and Mogan were at a local bar, the Corner Club. Gonsalves and Mogan can be seen on video at a local food vendor called The Grub Truck. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck and the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. This video was captured by law enforcement. A private party reported that he provided a ride to Gonsalves and Mogan approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow in front of the Grub Truck to the King Road residence. Are you guys still with me? Wake up. Come on, we've been waiting for this. All right, I know that it can get a little, get to the goodies, but I said we were going to go over the entire affidavit and I meant it. Okay. DM and BF Both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were home by 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms, by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash auto at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Interesting. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. DM stated she originally went to sleep in her room on the southeast side of the second floor. So her room is on the second floor. DM stated she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonsalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonsalves say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of records obtained from a forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed this could also have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. This does not match any of the timeline, you guys. All right, let's just keep going. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything. When she heard the comment about someone being in the house, DM stated she opened her door for a second time. When she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room, DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Ugh. You guys, this is just creepy. At approximately my stomach is turning. At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times, starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying. All right, this is getting interesting here. And saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. DM locked herself in her room after seeing the male. DM did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. The combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and video of a suspect as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. So a long time after what was initially suspected, like an hour. And Xana was awake. They were awake. And Dylan saw this man? And thought nothing of it? I'm so confused. What about you? Okay. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team by first using a presumptive blood test and then aminoblack, a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans-type shoe sole just outside the door of DM's bedroom. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. That is scary. She was so close to being a victim. I don't understand what took her so long. Why would she not call the police immediately? I don't understand. But let's keep going. Maybe we'll get some answers. As a part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred to in law enforcement as a video canvass, was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvass was to obtain any footage from the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022 in the area of the King Road residence and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspect or suspects' vehicles traveling or leaving from the King Road residence. This video canvass resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. So for everybody who was saying they didn't even ask for any freaking surveillance, they did. And I explained in one of my videos that they did. They did the very next day. They were asking for everybody in the area's surveillance. Anyway, I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected, and I've had conversations with other MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. A review of camera footage indicated that a white sedan, hereafter suspect vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound on the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue at Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. On this video, it appeared suspect vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. So that video of him coming in Steiner was the side road that he turned down. And I think what confused us was that we were under the assumption that the murders took place between 3 and 3:45 a.m. That's what confused me, because I'm like, this car looks like it's coming into town. And it was said that they turned down a side street. And Steiner would have been the first side street past that gas station to turn down, and you would have made a left. And that would have taken you all the way to Taylor, which would then take you to King Road. So that was him coming in. A review of footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1, starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial 3 passes by the 1122 King Road residence and then leave via Walenta Drive. Based off of my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in the area during the early morning hours. So this was out of place. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit the area during this time frame. Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area a 4th time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road. When suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again down Queen Road. So that would be right next to those apartments. I'm not looking at a map right now, but when I actually edit this video, I will try to edit a visual in for you guys to see where he's talking about, because I can picture it only because I've been staring at it for over a month now, but I'd like for you guys to have a visual so that you can see. I've always thought that he parked behind the house. It would have been a perfect spot to park and not be seen, but let's continue reading and see if that is in fact where he ended up parking. Suspect vehicle 1 is next seen departing the area of King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. So he continued east on Queen, so maybe it was behind there. It doesn't actually say. So then he leaves at 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. Suspect vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. Based on my knowledge of the area, review of camera footage in the neighborhood, that does not show suspect vehicle 1 during that time frame. I believe that suspect vehicle 1 is... Why do they keep saying vehicle 1? Suspect vehicle 1. Is there a 2? All right, let's keep reading. Likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive. Forgive me. I don't know what these names are. At the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is approximately 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. Both Pullman and Moscow are small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years after reviewing the numerous suspects, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could also be of 2011 to 2016. As a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of that vehicle. So they were actually looking for years 2011 to 2016, but they never made that public. So my guess would be that I don't know what year a vehicle, but I would assume that it's probably a 14, 15, or 16 because they never made that public. They left it at 2011 to 2013. So as not to tip him off, right? So investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13th, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. At approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington towards SR 270. SR 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the FBI. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman, Washington as being a, here we go, 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. At approximately 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington, and on WSU cameras. The first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. The white sedan was then observed turning north on Bishop Boulevard, northwest on SR 270. At approximately 5:27 a.m., the white Elantra was observed on cameras traveling northbound on Stadium Way. So coming back. So they have him leaving at approximately 2:53 a.m. and they have him returning at 5:27 a.m. And then we have some photos here. It's very hard to see. Yeah, it's hard to see. On November 25th, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for the white Hyundai Elantra. At approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Daniel Tiengo queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania license plate LF blah blah blah. This vehicle was registered to Bryan Kohberger, and then it has his address. Is approximately 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way, which was the last camera location that picked up the white Elantra. So they knew they had their guy pretty quickly, it appears. And it goes on to say that that's student housing. Whitman also ran the car and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. I reviewed Kohberger's Washington state driver's license information and photographed. This license indicates that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 feet and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows. Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male DM saw inside the King Road residence on November 13th. It shows that on August 21st, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho by Corporal Duke. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plates, which was set to expire on November 30th of 2022. So he needed to renew his plates anyway. Well, he needed to renew the sticker, not the whole plate. So he might try to use that in his defense. But anyway, during the stop, which was recorded via a law enforcement body camera, Kohberger provided his phone number as blah, blah, blah. As his cellular telephone number, investigators conducted electronic database queries and learned that the 8458 phone is a number issued by AT&T. On October 14th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop by a WSU police officer. Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a white. Kohberger registered the 2015 white. Okay, so on November 18th, just 5 days later, according to Washington State Licensing, Kohberger registered the 2015 white Elantra with Washington and later received a Washington plate. Prior to this time, the 2015 white Elantra was registered in Pennsylvania, which does not require a front license plate to be displayed. And this was learned through communications with a Pennsylvania officer who's currently certified in the state of Pennsylvania. Based on my own experience and communication with Washington law enforcement, I know that Idaho and Washington require front and back license plates to be displayed. That's why he had no front license plate. That's why it made it a bit harder to identify the vehicle. Investigators believe Kohberger is still driving the 2015 white Elantra because his vehicle was captured on December 13th, 2022 by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. Kohberger's Elantra was then queried on December 15th by law enforcement in Hancock County, Indiana. On December 16th, 2022 at approximately 2:26 p.m., surveillance video shows Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The sole occupant of the vehicle was a white male whose description was consistent with Kohberger. Kohberger has family in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. Based on information provided on the WSU, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology. Pursuant to records provided. I'm just going to scroll through this here. He applied to a police department, cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technical data in public safety operations. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey, which can be found by an open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to, quote, understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime, unquote. As part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence on November 13th between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. After determining that Kohberger was associated to both the 2015 white Elantra and the 8458 phone, investigators reviewed these search warrant returns. A query of the 8458 phone in the returns did not show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular tower resources in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Okay, so he wasn't active on his phone when he was in the area, is what I'm gathering from that. Based on my training, experience, and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as part of investigations, individuals can either leave their cellular telephone at a different location before committing a crime or turn their cellular telephone off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them was in the particular area where a crime is committed. I also know that on numerous occasions, subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. Depending on the circumstances, this could be done a few days before or for several months prior to the commission of a crime. During these types of surveillance, it is possible that an individual would not leave their cellular telephone at a separate location or turn it off, since they do not plan to commit the offense on that particular day. Now let me take a wild flippin' guess why that was added. Because probably while he was stalking them, he didn't turn it off, which we have already heard. There were lots of cell phone pings that matched up to the victims leading up to the murders. On December 23rd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th, 2022 at 12 a.m. and November 14th at 12 a.m. for the 8458 phone. That's the last four digits of Bryan Kohberger's cell phone. Held by the phone provider at AT&T approximately 24 hours preceding and following the times of the homicide. On December 23rd, pursuant to that search warrant, I received records for the 8458 phone from AT&T. These records indicated that the 8458 phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The account has been open since June 23rd, 2022, and these records also included historical cell site location information for the 8458 phone. After receiving this information, I consulted with an FBI special agent that is certified as a member of the Cellular Analysis Survey team. Members of CAST are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical CSLI and are required to pass extensive training that includes both written. So basically, this is a probable cause affidavit. Okay, so what they are doing here is they are saying We have investigated all of these things, and based on what we have found, we have gained enough probable cause to arrest this person as a suspect. They're proving, they're in this affidavit, exactly how they found this stuff out and who looked over it professionally to say, absolutely, these are where these cell phone pings were. Absolutely, this is the vehicle. Absolutely, this is your guy, right? On November 13th at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to basically his apartment in Pullman, Washington, here after the Kohberger residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone utilizes cellular resources that provide coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, consistent with the phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is also consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the phone stops reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cellular coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode, or that the phone is turned off. I mean, here's another mistake. You're planning on turning the phone off for the crime, but you don't turn it off at your residence. You wait until you're on your way. Did he forget? He knows all of these things. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 to Genesee, Idaho, and then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then north back into Pullman, Washington. At approximately 5:30 a.m., the phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to the Kohberger residence. The 8458 phone's movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that is observed traveling north on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. So they got Bryan's phone, it's registered to him. It's his phone. They got Bryan's white Elantra registered to him. It's Bryan's car in the same places at the same time, coming and going from both areas. Further review indicated that the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022 that are consistent with that phone leaving the area of the Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. Now, this is flippin' creepy because this means that Bryan's phone utilized cellular resources that are consistent with the phone traveling back to the crime scene and then back home again. So at 9 a.m., he traveled to Moscow and his phone pinged near the King Road residence between 9:12 and 9:21. And then it pinged again at approximately 9:32 back at his house. So then they have a picture of the possible route that he took, and I routed him. I actually have screenshots of the few routes that he could have used. There were about 3. But he actually took a route that's completely different from anything that any map app would suggest. So, like, he went out of his way, it appears, to maybe avoid camera detection and avoid kind of the main roads, but not every time. But this particular night, he went very, very south to come up very, very north. So I believe that that's because he took roads that he didn't think he was going to have any type of camera see him. Just my opinion. Investigators found that the phone did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, but investigators do not believe the phone was in Moscow on that date. So he traveled back that morning. So he got home at 5:30 a.m. and then at 9 a.m. he goes back to the crime scene. In my non-expert opinion, I would say he wanted to see if anyone had found these bodies yet. And they hadn't, because we know that the 911 call wasn't made until around noon. So additionally, the route of travel of 8458 phone during the early morning hours of November 13th and the lack of the phone reporting to AT&T between 2:47 and 4:48 a.m. is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide that occurred at King Road residence. December 23rd, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI from June 23rd to current. Prospective location information and a pen register trap and trace on the 8458 phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case prior to the offense, conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, was in contact with any of the victims' associates before or after the alleged offense, and any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13th, 2022. The location of the white Elantra registered to Kohberger, as well as the location of Kohberger. December 23rd, pursuant to that search warrant, I received historical records for the 8458 phone from AT&T from the time the account was opened in June 2022. I'm going to stop right here for a sec. This is what takes so long, and they cannot tell us what they're doing for a reason. Bryan had no clue that they were onto him. None. And if he is the one who made some of these comments in the subreddit of the Moscow murders, he had said something along the lines of, suspect will be announced and then the manhunt will begin. So he was waiting for his name to be announced, and that never happened. They never announced his name. They knew who they were looking for. They knew they were gaining evidence to prove probable cause that he is the suspect, and they kept that completely quiet. And this is why. He had no idea that they knew his Elantra was actually a 2015, right? He had no idea that his name was in their mouth at all. So keep that in mind as we move forward in other investigations, that it is very important that they not reveal certain things. And this is why. This is why he was dumb enough to get in his car and drive across the frickin' country in a white Elantra. He thought he was safe. They weren't looking for a 2015. They were looking for a 2011 to 13. He changed the plates. He had his dad come and drive with him to kind of maybe take the focus off of him if he were to be pulled over. He had no idea they were onto him. One of these occasions, on August 21st, 2022, the phone utilized cellular resources, providing coverage to the King Road residence from approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. So 1 hour. At approximately 11:37 p.m., Kohberger was stopped by Latah County Sheriff's deputy. As mentioned above, the phone was utilizing cellular resources consistent with the location of the traffic stop. And this was Farm Road and Pullman Highway. So they have him pulled over by a police officer with that phone pinging at the exact same place he was pulled over at the exact same time. It don't get no better than that as far as evidence for the location of this phone. This is a police record of him being stopped at a certain place at a certain time and his phone being exactly there, knowing this phone is registered to him. I mean, I don't know if he considered any of this, but like I said, I have my suspicions about Bryan Kohberger and his true motives for all of this, and we'll eventually get there. Let's just finish this. We are so almost done. 2 more minutes, okay? 3 max. Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via Highway 195 at approximately 12:36 p.m. Phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand located at 810 Port Drive in Clarkson, Washington. Oh, so he went and got himself a cup of Joe. At approximately 12:46 p.m., the phone then utilized cellular data in the area of Albertson's grocery store. It showed Kohberger exit the white Elantra at approximately 12:59. Interior surveillance cameras showed Kohberger walk through the store, purchase unknown items at the checkout, and leave at approximately 1:04 p.m. So this is the day, or the afternoon of the day. So around 12:46, when he's inside this Albertsons, this is about the time police are called. Additional analysis of records for the 8458 phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., and that is consistent with the phone being in the area that the 8458 phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time the homicides occurred. Oh gosh, you guys, this is a lot. I'm getting a headache. Well, I already had a headache, but let's finish this up. On December 27th, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. On December 28th, 2022, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. So almost 100% accuracy here. Based on the above information, I am requesting an arrest warrant be issued for Bryan C. Kohberger, date of birth 11/21/1994, for burglary at 1122 King Road, they put King Street, in Moscow, Idaho, and 4 counts of murder in the first degree for the murders of Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. I declare under penalty of perjury, pursuant to the law of the state of Idaho, the foregoing is true and correct. So there you have it, folks. What led to the arrest? The probable cause. A lot was redacted as I'm looking through this. That whole page that is redacted is probably for privacy purposes. So what do you guys think? I am gonna stop recording this. I'm gonna edit this, and then we'll talk about it more in depth. Okay.